Alright, this is SSL Family Dad with Simple Suburban Living, and today we're going to learn how to take care of cast iron cookware and make sure that it's properly seasoned and cleaned. Alright, so we did a video a while back about should you switch to cast iron, posing the question to everybody and talking a little bit about the Lodge brand cast iron cookware and why I liked it, and also why I really liked cast iron. One of my more controversial videos, I'll put a link up at the top here if you haven't seen it, but got a lot of thumbs down on that video, and I think I left some things out, and I was even accused of fear-mongering in that video. So hopefully I'll clear up some of those things today. But mainly what I want to talk about is seasoning and cleaning cast iron. I think one of the biggest things that resistances people have to switching to cast iron is that they are don't want to deal with cleaning it, don't want to deal with seasoning it. They think it's this long process that's going to be difficult to do. And so I want to show you some easy ways that we've used here to season and clean our cast iron that have worked very, very well. And the cast iron cookware that we use here is just about non-stick. Here's one that I just recently seasoned. I mean, you can fry an egg on that and flip it and it won't stick at all. A little tiny bit of olive oil or butter in the pan, and these things just work excellent. So this is one that's been recently seasoned, and you can see just how nice that looks. And here's one that we left out in our camper for a few months, and it got a little bit rusty, and so I cleaned it up, and here's what we're left with. So what I like to do is whenever you are ready to season your cast iron, which you should do just every once in a while, you don't want to do it every single time you cook, but whenever you start to notice the season kind of wearing off, or you get a real light colored metal here, it's time to season it again. So what I've done is I just have one of these. This is a little lunch meat container that I've labeled with cast iron oil, and all I do is I keep this underneath the counter with just a little bit of regular old vegetable oil in it. You don't need to put a lot. You can use Crisco, you can use other types of oils, but vegetable oil is cheap and works very well. And then this is just a regular old sponge. In fact, you don't need to have the scratch side on it. You can just use a cheap old sponge. Probably costs $1. I leave this in underneath the sink just like that, and it absorbs the oil, and it is ready to use whenever we're ready to use it. And so all you do is just take the sponge out of the container and just go ahead and wipe the bottom of your pans. Now, one thing I did find is that you don't want to over season the underside of the pan, because you'll notice here it got real thick seasoning on it. It gets kind of sticky, so you really don't need to season the outside of the pan unless you notice it's rusting or something like that. The bottom of the pan is the main part you need to season. So you just wipe the oil on there. You don't want it to be too thick. Get a little bit on the edges. Again, same thing. The edges don't need to be seasoned quite as much, because that season, the oil absorbs into the sides here, and it doesn't really. You're not cooking directly on the sides very often. So once you get the oil on there, just throw your sponge back in, seal this up, throw it underneath your sink, and then you're ready to throw this in the oven. Now, you don't need to specifically cook the cast iron separately. All I do usually is whenever I'm ready to season it, I'll get it oiled up, throw it in the oven on the bottom shelf, and then whenever we cook something next, it just kind of gets seasoned along with whatever is being cooked. And so I'll go ahead and throw this in the oven, and we'll show you a little bit about cleaning as well. It's best to season it at somewhere around 400 degrees, but it doesn't really matter. And the longer it's in there, the better it's going to be seasoned. Okay, so here's a pan that's already been seasoned, and just put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. Use butter, whatever you want to use. And just to demonstrate, the non-stick nature of the cast iron once it's properly seasoned. Eggs are one of the stickiest things you can cook in cast iron, and we use these things to cook eggs every single day, and so I figured I would demonstrate with this. One of the other things I didn't talk about in the first video I did, should you switch to cast iron, one of the most important, or one of the best features of the cast iron cookware is that the thick cast iron actually holds heat really well, especially with electric stoves, which are awfully uneven because they'll come on and heat up and turn off and come on and heat up and turn off, and so your cooking temperature is constantly changing. With cast iron, it really holds that temperature nice and even and steady, and so you get a much more even cooking with everything. So one of the things I didn't really mention originally. Another nice thing about this cast iron is that you can actually cook, like a lot of times we'll do is we'll sear steak. Heat this pan up with a little bit of butter, olive oil in there, sear a steak on both sides, and then take the cast iron pan and just put it right in the oven. That's something you can't do with any other type of cookware, besides maybe a stainless steel or something like that. But the cast iron holds the heat and really helps cook that food. So another thing I found really useful with cooking with cast iron or anything is these little silicone brushes. These don't melt, so you can actually brush them on hot surfaces, and silicone is supposed to be a little better than plastic as well. We use this for buttering things and greasing up pans, as well as buttering or putting egg whites on bread and other things like that. So you can cook at such a much lower temperature than with other types of cookware as well, which is really nice. And so you can see, the egg is just not, it's just floating right off this cast iron. It's not sticking at all, which is nice. Okay, so once you let your pan cool down, you see there's a little bit of egg that sticks to the bottom. Again, egg's a real sticky thing to cook, and so you'll obviously have to clean up your pan. Now, the thing you want to remember whenever you're working with cast iron is that you do not want to use any type of soap. I mean, you can from time to time if you really have to, but the soap strips the seasoning off the surface of the cast iron. It takes the oil basically out of the pores in the iron, and so we don't really want to do that. The best thing to use to clean, you can use one of two things. Either these little cheap plastic brushes are fine, but the bristles are going to wear out real quick on the rough cast iron, and they'll get stained and stuff like that. This is actually made by the Lodge. This brush is for their cast iron pans. I'll put a link in the description to this. I think they're like 10 bucks. But it has a tougher bristle on it, and these are perfect for cleaning up the cast iron. So all you got to do is just add a little bit of hot water and just scrub it a little bit. Rinse it out. And it's just like new. You can throw it in your dish rack, let it dry off, or dry it off with a towel. You want to make sure you store them very dry. And this doesn't need to be seasoned again. This is fine for several more uses before we'll season it again. Alright, so real quick video today, just some quick tips. I know a lot of people ask, how are you seasoning your cast iron, what are you doing? A lot of times family and friends come over and we're talking about how we like to use the cast iron cookware, and they ask, oh, I tried that, but I didn't like cleaning it, or I didn't like having to season it all the time. It's very easy. Keep that little thing of oil underneath the counter. You can pop that out, wipe it, throw it in the oven, and just let it sit there until next time you bake something. It'll get seasoned along with whatever you have in there, and then whenever it's done, just take it out, put it in your cupboard. So very, very easy to use. We've got several of these cast iron pans we use all the time, and we absolutely love them. We still love them. We've been using them for about a year and a half or a little more than that, I think now, and just love them. So I'll put links in the description to some of the Lodge cookware that we have, as well as some of the things that we used in the little brush and some of the stuff that we use here in the video today. If you have any questions or comments, please throw those down below. I'd love to have you guys subscribe if you're watching for the first time. I know there's a lot of videos out there on how to season cast iron cookware and different ways to do it, but the ideas are very similar, and so hopefully the way that I showed you here is just kind of an easy process to use and follow. If you liked the video, please hit thumbs up, and please leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys, what you think, what you guys do differently, good or bad. I'd love to hear from you either way. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.